Does Disney Star Wars have a legitimate contender on their hands in Galaxy's Edge? I think they do. Now, maybe there's still a lot of growing left to do because Disney is a massive company, and Star Wars obviously is a international, global brand that has decades of fandom behind it. So it might take a while, but for the disenfranchised Star Wars fans who have not already found it, I highly recommend checking out Galaxy's Edge. I believe there's 24 books in total already out for that franchise. I just finished book 2, so I'm new to the IP, but so far it's great. I'm currently reading book 3 right now. But tonight we're going to be talking about Galactic Outlaws, which is book 2 by Nick Cole and Jason Anspach. This book is published by Wargate Nova, as I believe all of the Galaxy's Edge books are. This book, you could probably read it as a standalone. If you wanted more of like an outlaw, space cowboy, with some pirates thrown in, kind of running from the big bad government, this would be a good one to go with. It does have some characters that were in the first book that are ex-legionnaires that are now, or they were legionnaires in the first book, and now they're ex-legionnaires and they're outlaws. So if you want something like that kind of flavor, you could start off with this, but I still recommend book 1 because it's great, Legionnaire. And if you have read book 1 going into book 2, it definitely adds to the emotional gravity for at least one of the characters, if not maybe, yeah, definitely for one of the characters. The book itself does a good job of explaining what's going on, so it's not like you're missing any lore or anything like that. You'll be confused about what's going on or why someone is pissed at another character or wants revenge. The book does a great job of explaining that without you having to read the first one. So if that's something that sounds like maybe up your alley, you can go that route. Now, there's a couple different POVs. For the most part, there are 3 main POVs in this book, and there's a couple other, just like a couple random chapters with just like a random POV, and it's not really part of the main. It doesn't really follow along the characters as they go throughout the story. It's just like kind of a snapshot in that moment in time where one of the POV characters is, that kind of just gives you another angle of that situation. So they're not continuing on with the plot. It just kind of makes that one scene a little bit more dynamic. The 3 POV characters are Prisma Maydoun, Captain Asen Keel of the Indelible Six, and Captain Tyrus Rex of the Obsidian Crow. Each character kind of has their own plot line going on. This book does a really good job of interweaving the plots. So Prisma and Tyrus kind of connect pretty early in the book, and I would say theirs is the main plot line of the book, and then eventually Keel connects with them as well, and his is still partially connected, I'd say, but not full on, not quite as connected as Prisma and Rex. They are definitely more so to the plot and the more connected to the antagonist. Speaking of the antagonist, his name is Goth Solus, and he's a very enigmatic character, and I think they did a really good job of kind of maintaining his secrecy and kind of making him seem like he was this like phantom. He's always like one step ahead of the characters that are chasing him until he finally reveals himself, which it takes a while. It takes a while for them to finally catch him, and when they do, it completely kind of turns the galaxy, turns this universe on its head. It opens up the lore to go down new avenues of more supernatural kind of mysticism. So we'll see how that unfolds with books going forward. I thought they did a great job with the pacing of their antagonist and really not showing him, other than in the very beginning, towards the beginning, Prisma is hiding and witnesses her father be murdered by Goth Solus, who is surrounded by a bunch of dudes in liege armor but it's like painted black with like a red stripe. The lieges are actually ones that kill her dad, but they're working for him. And I can't remember how exactly she finds out what his name is. I think they might say it and she hears it. But anyway, her whole like plot arc is she's looking for a super badass bounty hunter to get her revenge, to help her kill Goth Solus. So we see him that one time, and I don't know if you see what they describe his face or just from the back, but yeah, they do a great job of making him very mysterious, enigmatic, and just the fact that they seem to constantly be like not at the right place at the right time kind of makes him seem very calculating and smart. And then when he finally reveals himself, it's a very good payoff. And I was not disappointed at all with who he ended up being. Maybe there's people out there that are a lot smarter than I am that might have guessed it. I didn't guess it at all. And then when they revealed who it was, I was like, oh wow, that's super cool. I guess I don't know. Maybe when I'm reading, I'm more kind of in the moment. I'm not really thinking ahead of like, okay, what's going on. So that's never really been my thing. I've never tried to do that. Unless something's just like blatantly obvious, I'm probably not going to catch it just because I'm more interested in what's going on at the moment. Or I'm really stupid. It's one or the other. There's some other characters, but they're not POV characters. So on Rex's crew, he's the captain of the Obsidian Crow, and he ends up getting a first mate that actually tried to steal his ship, and the AI on his ship basically captured this. It's called the Wobonki. I might be saying that wrong. It's like a cat humanoid person, and if I'm not mistaken, I think the D&D one's like Tabaxi, but along that line. And anyway, his name is Skriz. Again, he's the one character I can't quite remember his name, but he's pretty rad. I mean, he doesn't speak a lick of English or Common or Standard, whatever the the basic languages for the galaxy. But Rex seems to understand his language, and vice versa. He understands Rex, but they're just speaking different languages. So it's very Han Solo Chewie, and both ships, the Indelible Six and the Crow, both kind of got a little bit of that going on. There's a lot of kind of like Star Wars Easter eggs in here. There's like one like priest lady who kind of talks about like, I don't have like powers to read your mind or move things with my mind, something along those lines. And then there's other ones too. Another one I remember that stuck out because it was like super obvious was I think it was Keel. He's like, this is where the fun begins. So it's fun. I like that they put those little nods to Star Wars because it's pretty clear that they're Star Wars fans. The authors are, and they wanted to make this for Star Wars fans who just wanted their stories back. So I respect and appreciate them for doing that, and I really enjoyed all the little Star Wars mentions in there and like the parallels with these like outlaw pilots with their Chewie-esque style co-pilots. Keel too has this thing where he prefers, if he's gonna do something, he prefers that his odds for success are greater than 60%. And his AI first mate Ravi helps him out with that. And Ravi's a really cool, very mysterious kind of character. Because even though he's like AI, he's very human. And he kind of acts like Keel's conscience, kind of. And I don't know. I really like their relationship and their rapport. Because like I said, even though he's AI, he's a machine or software. He's they have a very human connection, which is interesting. And I really like this character. It's funny that Keel, that's another like little nod because like obviously Han Solo's like, never tell me the odds. And the Keel's like, I need to know the odds. If it needs to be over 60%. So I don't know. I kind of like that little play off Han Solo. And it seems like, yeah, both captains kind of had a little bit of a Han flavor to them, but compared to each other, they're way different. Other than they're both ex-lieges, all the characters are very unique. They're fantastic. Let me just do a quick breakdown of kind of like the characters and what I like about them or like who they are. So Keel, he is basically like the fastest gun. He's a self-proclaimed fastest gun in the galaxy, and no one's really been able to prove him wrong. Like he's very competent and very good at everything he does as far as being an outlaw. He's a great pilot. He's a great gunfighter. He's a great fighter in general. He is charismatic. He's good at getting what he wants, and he's great at negotiating. So he's a very charismatic, deadly outlaw, and I really liked his character. He's not necessarily the lovable gruff. Like he can be very, very, very brutal and cutthroat. But you also see like glimmers of, I don't know, maybe something a little bit deeper kind of peppered in throughout the story. He's a great character. Prisma, she's accompanied by this. She's a little girl. She's not an adult. She's a little girl. I think she's 10, and she's accompanied by this like war bot that's been reprogrammed basically to be like her, basically just like her guardian, her caretaker, follows her around, tries to keep her safe. Not really in its full-on warbot mode. Its name is KRS88. Cool bot. We see a few more bots, specifically warbots in this one, and also a massive like 4-story mech called an HKPP. So I'm hoping I know Order of the Centurion, it's basically a standalone novel in this universe, is a lot of mech action as far as I'm aware. I mean, there's a giant mech on the cover, so if you need more mech action, go that route. But anyway, yeah, so that she has this robot that follows her around, tries to keep her safe, and she's very sad and uh, afraid, but she's also very brave and kind of cold, which is understandable. But there's some scenes where you're like, wow, I would expect a child to have a little bit more of a stronger reaction to that, and she just kind of has no reaction. So you kind of get the sense that something's been taken from her more than just her parents, because her mom died when she was young. I don't think she remembers her mom, and then she watched her dad get murdered. So something kind of snapped, and something's been taken from her. So she still feels fear, and she's sad, but she's also kind of numb and cold. She's a cool character. I mean, she's a little girl, but still well written. And then Tyrus Rex is an ex liege general. He's also pretty mysterious because he gives off this. We like learn quickly that he's old, like very old. And I kind of spent the whole book wondering like how old he was. Like, is he older than a human should be, or is he just kind of too old or older than a person should be for someone who lives such a violent lifestyle? But either way, he's super old. His whole shtick is he's kind of like losing his marbles. He's kind of getting like dementia. He's like a kind of a paranoid, schizophrenic. He like hears a voice in his head and he thinks it's his, but maybe it's not his. And his memories, he's not sure. He can't really hold on to his memories very well, and he can't even really hold on to reality very well. Like, he's not sure what's real. He's not sure if something that he remembers really happened or if it's just some delusion. A lot of times he's like thinking this stuff and having flashbacks like in the middle of intense combat. And then also he's just a badass character. We see with the Republic has kind of bloated more and more, and that has affected the Legionnaires, the Legion, because they've replaced all their armor with like mass-produced cheap crap armor that's nowhere near as impressive as the older models. And Rex is rocking the Mark I armor, and it's got like nanotech that can repair itself, and it's a red armor. He has a sidearm called the hand cannon. That's what he calls it. It's a slug thrower, like full auto pistol. It's a cool weapon. His whole story and his aesthetic and his fighting style and just what he's got going on is so interesting. Rex is cool, man. He might be the baddest man in the galaxy. Keel might be close, if not a little bit better, actually, but Keel's a lot younger. But regardless, like, Rex is the man, dude. Just a grizzled old fighter that refuses to die. So those are the three POVs. And then you have Lena, she's basically like a Twi'lek. She has like pink skin and like these tendrils for hair, but Twi'leks just have the two. She has like a bunch of tendrils. Looks more like hair. And she is a mechanic that Keel thought was a princess because she's from a planet. I'll say it's like Enduran, or she's Endurian. So all the females there are called princesses. So he thought that she was a princess, and turns out she's just a mechanic, but she's a really good mechanic. And he ends up getting her to stay on his ship. He's attracted to her. He keeps her on for that, and also that she's really good at being a mechanic, and she's able to repair things that he's kind of pushed aside and neglected on a ship. His story arc is basically him kind of building his crew. So he does that. Then he steals a coder from like his pirate connection. Like, he's friends with this pirate boss that tried to kill him, but then they like make up, and it's a really fun like dynamic and relationship they have with each other, because they both like are pretty ready to like screw each other over, but then they both work with each other to make money for each other. It's fun. It's a fun like outlaw, relationship that you would expect from scoundrels in the galaxy. But yeah, he steals that guy's coder, and he's really good. He's like a prodigy, a genius, and he's super happy to go because he was treated like crap on the outlaw planet that he was on, and so he hops on with Keel, and yeah, he helps him like make some bots that allow Ravi to go off the ship to generate the hologram for him. And yeah, I mean, I'm not going to give too much away about who he is, but he's kind of an out of shape. He's a nerdy guy, right? He's not a fighter, but he seems like a genuinely good person. He's not evil or anything. Same with Lena. She's like a nice person. So I feel like they're kind of gonna bounce off Keel a little bit and maybe temper him a wee bit. We'll see how it goes going forward in the next books. But there's definitely a little bit of a contrast there. I mean, Garrett kind of seems like he just kind of goes with whatever he's told to do, but he does seem like a nice person. So maybe that'll just kind of seep into Keel. I don't know. And then yeah, that's all for characters really. And then yeah, dude, the pacing is great. It's very fast paced, very high stakes. Like the characters just go from the frying pan into the fire, constantly like running from one problem to the next. But there's also a few down moments, like slow moments. It's not wasted time. It's used to great effect to kind of expand, as any good book, to expand like the lore or the character backstory or the universe's backstory. But it's all, or like expand like characterization and relationships between characters. Yeah, well done. But it's, for the most part, it's fast paced. There's always something crazy going on, and all the way to the end. It's a thrill ride, man. And then, unlike the first book, Legionnaire, where it was just, you were just in the POV of the Legion, of a few Legionnaires, and you were on one planet. This book is several POVs from outside the Legion, outside the Republic, kind of looking at the Republic from the outside, giving us a different perspective and maybe a little bit different judgment of the Republic. Yeah, we just get a pretty big variety of settings. We get an outlaw planet, we get like fringe planets that are kind of on the outskirts of the Republic's territory. We get this like ice planet that has like these beautiful Eden-esque forests and stuff underneath the surface of the ice with like temples and stuff like that. I think my favorite one, so there's this like outlaw faction, it's like the Brotherhood. They have this like hideout that's in the remnants of this like old star battle. So it's basically all these floating wreckages of Star Destroyers that are just floating in space. And it's multiple. It's just a huge debris field. But then there's like one wreckage that's kind of like still kind of intact. And it's been retrofitted on the inside is the hideout. I really like that one. The whole process of trying to get in there and deal with the bounty hunters. Great scene, great setting, loved it. What else is there? There's a lot of like Republic, not capitals, but like, you know, Republic cities with like monuments to Republic heroes and stuff like that. So there's like bigger cities, or more populated planets. I'm sure I'm forgetting one or two of them, but anyway, it just gives us a much larger scope of the galaxy as a whole, and kind of how people outside the military kind of have to get by and go day to day, and how they view the Republic. Not a whole lot with the MCR, the Mid-Core Rebellion. There's a few characters that were a part of it that are in this book, but that's about it. And then the ending is, man, for me, I loved it. There's not really a whole lot of happy endings going on so far in these first two books, but they're really good. They're not all bad. It's like a bit of a mix of both. So I think they do a great job so far with their endings. Big fan of both these books. Very excited to keep going on. Right now I'm reading Kill Team, and then I'm going to switch over and just do the standalone. I'm reading Order of the Centurion. That's a Blaine Pardoe book, and I want to check it out. But yeah, that's really all I got for this book. I highly recommend it. If you haven't started reading Galaxy's Edge, get into it. Like I said, I do recommend starting with book one, but if you just wanted to more of an outlaw style space opera, go ahead and pick this book up. I would be shocked if you're disappointed. But yeah, other than that, that's all I got for tonight. So if you are if you're still watching, thank you so much for being here. Please comment, like, share, and subscribe, and I'll see you guys next time.